Okay, so now we're going to go through the integumentary system. That's one of the 11 organ systems. And anytime we're referring to the integumentary system, that is your skin, as well as all the structures embedded in your skin. So nails, hairs, sweat glands, those sorts of things that are embedded in that skin layer. So one of your first learning goals here is it asks you to list the functions of the integumentary system. And those can be found pretty easily on okay, so now we're moving into talking about the integumentary system. This is one of the 11 organ systems of the body. And if you remember from our overview in Chapter 1, back at the beginning of the semester, the integumentary system is going to have to do with the skin, both the skin layers and everything embedded in the skin. So the hairs, the nails, the sweat glands, the sebaceous glands, all of those sorts of things are all considered a part of this system. One of your first learning goals here is to list the functions of the integumentary system, and this is found pretty easily by going to your textbook onto page 152. But I do want to caution you as you list these out, and here is the location in your notes to list these functions of the skin. But I do want to caution you as you look at your text, a lot of times students just want to list the word in italics. But the problem with this is you list protection. Well, protection from what? You know, are we talking about protection from invisible fairies in my sock drawer? Are we talking about protection from foreign particles? Like what exactly are we being protected from? And so as you're going through here, you really need to look at these details because the details matter. So for example, this says protection of underlying tissues and organs against impact. Okay, so that's what allows me to bump up against a table and not be, ow, I just shredded my muscle. Okay. So it's protecting from impact or abrasion. It's protecting from fluid loss. It keeps water inside our tissues so it can't go through that skin barrier easily. We're going to learn that some water does get across, but it limits it. The skin limits how much water gets across. And that's one of the big problems with burn victims is they don't have that protective skin barrier, and so they're really in addition to other problems, that they're really subject to extreme water loss if the burns are bad enough and over enough of the body. And then also chemical attack. Okay, I'd also put, it's also protecting, well, and I guess it kind of fits here, so this is talking more about coordination of our immune response to pathogens and cancers. So as you're going here to list what some of these functions are, we want to list protection from impact, abrasion, fluid loss, and chemicals. Okay, and just like for this potential burn victim that we talked about, understanding that fluid loss, preventing this, is a function of the skin, that's going to be important for treating people that have problems with the skin, such as in extreme burns. Okay, so that's really why these details matter, because generally as a health professional you're seeing somebody when the function is not working as it should, and so you really need to understand these details to be able to treat them properly. Okay, a few other things that we're going to list: excretion of salts, water, and wastes, temperature maintenance. Okay, we're going to make a chemical called melanin. Keep in mind, this is not melatonin. Different chemical. Melatonin made by the pineal gland in the brain. That causes you to go to sleep. Melanin is going to protect you from UV light. Okay, and we'll talk more about this a little bit later. It's going to also make keratin, and that is going to protect from abrasion and repel water. Okay, and it's also going to prevent water loss. So it's kind of the waterproofing of the skin. It's a barrier that doesn't easily allow water in or out across the skin. Vitamin D synthesis. This is going to be really important. It turns out that we store a lot of our lipids, our fats are going to be stored underneath the skin. And that's going to help with insulation. That's going to also help protect from impact and also provide those energy stores. Big thing that hopefully you know from the nervous system is this is one of the main locations for detecting sensory information from the outside environment. Okay. And then the last one listed in your book is coordinates immune responses against pathogens such as bacteria, viruses, parasites, and cancer cells. Okay, so these are some of the major functions of the skin right there. Now, if you notice from looking on this image from your textbook, you can really divide this into two structures: the cutaneous membrane, which has the epidermis and dermis, and then the accessory structures. And these are going to be things like hairs, sweat glands. This is a sensory structure, more glands. We do have one smooth muscle here. We're also going to have other sensory structures. So pretty much glands, sensory structures, hairs, and one smooth muscle are going to be some of these accessory structures that are found in these layers. So remember, cutaneous membrane is the epidermis and the dermis. There is this third layer called the hypodermis. It's technically not a part of the skin. It's technically underneath it. So if we're looking here at the layers, the epidermis is going to be most superficial. The dermis is going to be in the middle. And then the hypodermis is going to be the deepest layer. Okay. A couple of other things that I want you to look at. It's asking, are blood vessels found in this layer? Well, hypodermis, you bet. Blood vessels are all over that. The dermis, which runs from here down to here. Yes, these blue and red structures are representing blood vessels. You find them all over the dermis. But the epidermis, which is from here up to the top, there are no blood vessels. Okay? And we're going to find that that's actually quite important. Okay, so are blood vessels found in this layer? No for epidermis, and yes for the dermis and the hypodermis. Now we'll fill the rest of these in as we talk a little bit more in depth about each layer. But I want to go ahead and give you what are some of the other names for the hypodermis. One we've already talked about. We called it the superficial fascia. And we talked about that in our tissue section whenever we went through membranes. So hypodermis, superficial fascia, they are the same thing. Okay? And the other words that you may hear used to describe it are going to be the subcutaneous layer. Okay. So again, hypodermis. Now you may notice too from the picture, hypodermis is going to be where the majority of our fat is going to be stored. Okay, so whenever we're talking about some of the function of the skin is to store lipids, most of that is going to be located in that hypodermis, which is just deep to the cutaneous membrane. Okay. All right, and so the rest of this section of the homework gives you a couple of videos that are going to take you through an overview of the skin, gives you a little practice separating things into the actual membrane layers versus what's an accessory structure, and also some practice just learning some of the names of these structures. We're going to go into depth more on them in the next pages, but just learn the names and locations for right now.